Hello, welcome to my channel, Small Optics. My name is Jason. Now, entry-level telescopes are usually good to go straight out of the box. But there's still a few things, little hints and tips and tricks and tweaks that you can do to them to actually improve them just that little bit more. So here's my top tips for getting the very best out of your telescope. Okay, let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Now, it's no good, no matter how big or small your telescope is, if it's on a wobbly mount or tripod, should I say, then, it's going to make viewing a nightmare, basically. Now, one thing that entry-level telescopes do suffer from a little bit, and that is lightweight tripods. Now, they're great for if you're going to travel about with them, but as a rule, they're not quite sturdy enough. But there's a few things you can do to really sturdy them up a lot more than what they are when you get them first out of the box. Now, what a lot of telescopes suffer from, especially entry-level telescopes, is what I call toffee apple syndrome, and that is when all the weight's at the top of the tripod, if you like, and there's no weight at the bottom, because a lot of these tripods are pretty lightweight. And if you introduce some weight to the bottom of the tripod, this will lower the center of gravity. Now, this is easily done. If you actually look on your tripod, you may have an hook, like a little hook, on the bottom of your tripod. It's usually where the spreader plate is. I know you can't see mine. Mine's down here somewhere at the minute. Now, if you haven't got a hook on it, you can put one on yourself. Now, if you have got a tray, a spreader tray, even though it sounds a little bit drastic, I would drill a hole through it. If you have got a lightweight tripod, drill a hole bang through the center of the spreader tray, or the eyepiece tray, or whatever you want to call it, and maybe install one of those hooks with like a nut and bolt affair, yeah, something like that. You don't want anything, over the top, because you're not going to be putting too much weight on there. Just something like the equivalent of 4 cans of beans, something like that, or a 4-pack of beer, if you like. So all you need to do is put the tins or cans or whatever you're going to use in maybe a carrier bag or something like that, and then just hook the carrier bag to the on the hook at the bottom of the tripod. And like I say, this is going to lower the center of gravity, and it's not only going to sturdy the tripod up, but it's also going to make the telescope a lot more secure, because it's so easy when they are top heavy to topple them over, knock them over in the dark, and unfortunately gravity always wins on that one. Now, sticking with the tripod, we've now increased a little bit of weight at the bottom of the tripod. Now, it's always a good idea, now once you've set your telescope up and you're outside at your observation location, there's a poem for you. Once you've got your telescope actually set up and it's all done, and you've put your weight on there, it's a good idea to actually tease each leg out a little bit. And what I mean by that is, if you get each leg like this and just pull it out a little bit and go round and do each one of the legs. Now, you don't want to pull these out, don't really yank them out. Just tease them out a little bit. And what this is going to do, because you've added weight now to the bottom of the tripod and you've now teased the legs out, instead of the tripod being just sat on the ground, it's now gripping the ground itself. And this again is going to improve stability quite considerably. Another thing to check on your telescope that's going to improve stability is these fixings here, these that attach the legs to the mount. Okay, you've got to make sure that these are nipped up good and tight. Now, I've deliberately loosened mine off a little bit here just to show you. If you get hold of the leg and wobble it like that, you shouldn't get any play at all. So get the appropriate tools. On mine it's a spanner like this, which you, or wrench if you're from America, and just tighten everything up. Make sure that these are well and truly nipped up, good and tight, and when they are secure, you don't want any movement in those at all. Okay, so if you've done all those things for your tripod, that's as sturdy as your tripod is going to be, okay? So let's move up the tube a little bit now, and just some simple little tips, but I've found really effective, that's definitely helped improve when I'm out there making things less frustrating, let's say, in the dark. And if you look at one here, this is again a very simple idea, but it's so effective and helps me a lot. On my right ascension and deculation locking nuts, what I've done is I've actually painted them a very bright colour, well in this case white, and round the edges I've actually painted them with glow in the dark paint. Okay, and it's not, it doesn't affect your night vision or anything, it's not particularly, you know, it's not like really bright. But this really helps find or locate these elusive locking nuts in the dark. Now, your telescope, you might be designed slightly different, and your locking screws are probably, you know, fine. And in that case, fair enough. Like, maybe skip on to the next tip. But if they're not, if you have, especially on these EQ2 mounts, now I've had this telescope about 3 years now, and I still fumble around for these locking nuts. You know, if the telescope's orientated in a funny position or something, you know, it's like, where are they? Where are they? And now I just have to look away from the eyepiece, and I can see where they're glowing from, if you get what I mean. So give it a go. If you do struggle locating these in the dark, you don't have to paint them illuminous. Just paint them white like I've done on the front, and it makes them really stand out in the dark, easier to locate. Another very simple but I find very effective little tip is, if you've noticed my slow motion control here, I haven't got the other one at the minute, I've got the motor attached, but this one here, you'll notice that mine comes to the front of the telescope, and a lot of them will stick out towards the back. Now, all you do to make it stick out the front is just take your telescope off the tube ring, spin them round, and reposition your scope. And the benefits are having this up here. I can't show you from here, but when you're up at the eyepiece, okay, having to reach right around the telescope can sometimes be a little bit awkward. And just having this, where, you know, conveniently here, right where the eyepiece is, I found incredibly useful. So give this one a go. Just spin your scope around and see how you get on with this, and you might find that you like it. Now I've just spun my telescope round a little bit, so I just want to concentrate a little bit on the focuser. Now if you've got one of these type of focusers on your telescope, and more than likely you have, they call them rack and pinion type of focusers, these, and you'll know which one I'm talking about. It'll have like some teeth here, and the wheel that moves it in and out. Now if you look on the bottom, and this same applies for refractor users, usually they're on all types of telescopes like that. They're very common on entry-level telescopes. But if you look on the bottom, there's two screws just here, and these two, usually Phillips screws. Now they're not just to hold the housing on. What they are, in actual fact, is tension screws, and you may find that your focusers may be a little bit stiff, or the bang opposite, it could be really loose, okay? And you may have found that if you put like anything heavy on there, like a camera or maybe an iPhone adapter or something like that, the focuser tube can actually slip in and out. Well, this is all just down to this tension screws here, and you don't want these torqued up too tight, and you don't want them too loose, okay? It's just a nice fine tension of how much you screw them down. And what you're looking for really is so there's no play in the focuser tube, or should I say no slip in the focuser, and that when you can turn it and still focus it without it like moving the telescope tube because it's too stiff. Okay, so that's just something that's overlooked a lot by beginners. They don't really know that exists. So make sure that you've balanced this up so you've got a nice smooth focus. Now, another thing these type of focusers suffer from, if that's the right choice of words, or entry-level focusers, is a sloppy tube fitting. And what I mean by that is the actual tube that goes into the main housing here. What you need to do is just grab hold of it and again move it from side to side. There should be no play at all in there. It shouldn't be moving inside that focusing tube. And what you'll find is a lot of them do, okay, and this isn't good. This needs sorting, because what you may have found is if you have got a loose tube, if you like, when it comes to focusing, if you're focusing on a planet or something, every time you focus you'll notice that it jumps up and down, and that's purely because of this. Now there's a really easy fix to do to sort this, and I'll put some close-ups of mine so you can see what I've done. And all I've done it with is an empty kitchen roll tube. That's all you need, okay? What you want to do though first, and don't worry, this isn't as drastic as what you think. If you loosen these two screws off quite a lot, you don't have to fully remove them, okay? You'll find that the tube will actually just pull fully out, okay? It'll come completely out of the housing, and it's a lot easier to apply this kitchen roll to if it's out. You don't have to, of course. You can take your focuser to the maximum and slide it in that way a little bit, you know what I'm saying, because it's very rare that you have your focuser out at absolute max. So that's another way you can do it. And then all I've done is I've just painted mine black just for cosmetic reasons really, so it doesn't look like a bit of cardboard stuck to the focusing tube really. Now what you actually stick this with is entirely up to you really. I just simply use double-sided tape, okay, and that has been on for 3 years now. I've not done anything to it. It's just been on there, and it's been fine just as it is. But just make sure, obviously, you're not covering, as you can see here, I've left a gap here where I've cut it quite, you know, a little bit short, just to allow for the cogs, obviously. Now, one thing we all suffer from is light pollution, but it particularly hits us reflector users. Well, I am a refractor user as well. In fact, my favourite type of telescope is a refractor, just thought I'd put that one out there. But on reflector telescopes, because the eyepiece is relatively close to the opening of the telescope, if you have a lot of light pollution, street lights, outside lights, whatever kind of lights really, some of that stray light is going to get inside the tube, okay? And a really good tip to improve contrast and to combat some of that light pollution is, I'm laughing because this is one that's going to make your telescope look a little bit silly, put it that way. So what you're going to need first is a huge magic wand. No, no, you're not going to need a magic wand. Mine just happened to turn out looking a little bit like a magic wand after I'd finished it. All it is basically is a cardboard tube, okay, that's round about this, what's that, 14 inches, perhaps could do it a little bit longer. And all you're going to do with this is place it, you want to make it so it's a nice tight fit over the end of your telescope like this, and as you can see you have a ridiculously long looking telescope. Because we've put this you know, extension tube on there, it's in actual fact pushed us focuser further back, if you get what I mean. And this really does help improve contrast. I can remember a couple of years ago, I can't for life of me remember what target I was looking for, but on this location here where I suffer from quite a lot of light pollution, I couldn't find it at all. And I thought, right, I'll call it a light shroud. I can't think of anything else to call it. I'd put one of these on anyway and went out the next clear night, and lo and behold, there it was. I was looking in the same area and I found it within no time. So it just shows you that this really does improve contrast. Yes, your telescope may look a little bit ridiculous, but who cares? You're in the dark anyway. Now, if you use a star diagonal, one of these type, in a refractor or a Smith Cassegrain or something like that, a good thing to do, my top tip for you, if you've got one of those that's provided with your telescope, is to upgrade it. Because I can guarantee you, if there's going to be a weak link in any telescope that uses one of these star diagonals, it's going to be the star diagonal itself. Okay, and there's a good test to see if your star diagonal is any good. It's very easy to do. Just go out on a nice clear night and get something in your field of view. Get it to the best views you possibly think you can get. Okay, now remove the star diagonal and put the eyepiece directly into the tube. So if I can just grab hold of this, remove that and then place the eyepiece directly into the tube. You may have to refocus and have a look at the same object. Now, if you can see a difference, unfortunately you've got a problem and your star diagonal needs to be upgraded. What you should be seeing from a good star diagonal is absolutely no difference at all. Now, when I say upgrade, I don't mean like you've got to spend hundreds of pounds on one. Just something better than one that's been supplied with your telescope. You know, the thing is with these flat mirrors, they're actually harder to make than a concave mirror. A flat surface, to get an optically perfect flat surface, is quite a difficult task to do. So just spending that little bit more on a new star diagonal is a good investment, and you're not going to regret it. And it's going to dramatically improve your visual performance of your telescope. Okay, my final tip for improving any telescope, and in fact this one will make you feel like you've bought an entirely new telescope, and that is, we've talked about upgrading your diagonal. Well, upgrading your existing stock eyepieces. Trust me, if there's ever a difference on any of these hints and tips that you will see instantly, it will be if you just upgrade the stock eyepieces that are provided with a telescope. Now, your lower powered eyepieces, round about 23, 25 or above, are usually fine. Okay, they're not that demanding on the telescope, they're not that high power, and to be honest with you, you'll be getting some of your best views with those lower powered eyepieces. The ones you want to be upgrading are anything 12mm below. Okay, now usually it's well, a common one is the Super 10. Okay, it's a very common, and it's provided with a lot of Skywasher telescopes, and Celestron do an equivalent, their version. Now these are what's called modified achromats, and as a rule they're all right, they're not bad, but you've got to think about eyepieces a little bit like batteries that are provided with electronics, with a toy or whatever. They're just there to get you going, okay? And later on you'd buy better batteries and put them in, and the product will work 100% better. Well, eyepieces are exactly the same. You've got to remember, without an eyepiece, a telescope's nothing. Okay, it's a guitar without any strings. You know what I mean? It's totally useless. So the quality of the eyepiece is really important. So like I say, you want to be upgrading your lower power, your 10 mil or 12 mil, something like that. And again, you don't need to take a small bank loan out to upgrade your eyepiece. A good first choice is a Plossl. Okay, as long as it says the word Plossl, that just simply means the design of the eyepiece, the amount of lenses that are in it. There's a lot more lenses. I think there's four lenses. There's me having to think how many lenses in a Plossl. I'm sure there are four elements in a Plossl eyepiece. And with that, you're going to get so much better images. You may be thinking now that, you know, well, my 10 millimeters, fine. I can see the rings of Saturn. I can see the belts on Jupiter with it just fine. Well, trust me, if you just upgrade to something like a Plossl, like a 12 millimeter Plossl, the difference is quite dramatic, really. It really is a big difference. Now, in my opinion, the best powered eyepiece that you can get for and works well with all telescopes of all sizes really is a 15 mil. If you buy say a 15 millimeter Plossl as your first upgrade, you'll quickly find that it'll become your favorite eyepiece. Okay, the thing is with a 15 mil, is you've got enough power for everything really. It's great for star clusters, it's great for nebula viewing, it's great for the planets because you can use it with a Barlow. Okay, so 15 mil is a good middle of the range eyepiece that I guarantee it's going to be the one you use the most. Well, there you go, my top tips for improving an entry-level telescope. I hope that you find at least one of them of some use. If you've watched the video this far, thank you so much for watching, and maybe subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and while you're there, maybe hit that thumbs up button because it really does help the channel. In the meantime, happy stargazing, take good care of yourselves, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.